I'm educated in quite traditional art school. Like when I was going to Pristina University, after 1 or 2 years, I thought that actually I'm not learning why I went there actually. And basically, I think in the third year in university, I learned something very important. What should I not do? And when you know exactly what you should not do after, you try to focus and work in what you should do. So basically, since I was like 21 or something, 21, more or less, I was thinking that in this class that I was going to the school and lessons I was getting from professors, they were quite classic and traditional. So my focus was somehow trying to go a bit more wild and try to focus and work in different mediums. So basically, since more than around 15 years, I'm trying to work in different mediums, and the medium to be just a kind of a tool, and focus to be completely an idea. So if I describe myself, what I'm doing and how I describe my works, is usually like I say that I'm a visual artist. In somewhere they write me as a filmmaker as well, because I try to use a film as a medium as well. And yeah, I mean, I worked, I think, almost in every medium, except sculpture, which I didn't use much. Not because I didn't want, but just because I thought, or I think that I didn't have much ideas to develop something, which doesn't mean in the future I'm not going to do it. And if I describe the ideas and concept behind, they're mostly, let's say, my focus was, let's say, trying to make research in all this political, economical, and social transformation that was going on in Kosovo, but not only in Kosovo, because for many years I lived in different countries, like especially for a short time, like in residency. So I was trying somehow, even there, to put myself in position of how political and economical, social transformation was there in the moment where I used to live. So basically, yeah, I mean, always when somebody asks, I just say that I'm a visual artist trying to react and trying to make research in these issues, mostly political, economic, and social transformation. Look, I think it's for an established artist, I think it's very important, even not because I don't like, let's say, to work in non-government space, house space, or to do works in, let's say, in site-specific works. But at a certain point, I think it's important as well to have a focus and working as well in, let's say, how we call it, this white space, white museums in biennales, and because in one moment I think you want it or not, if you are part of the scene, contemporary art scene, visual art scene, I think you have to be part of all of these shows, because it helps you as well economically. But one moment, another moment, I think it's not possible to avoid that. And basically, I was much more happy to take part in shows that somehow it fits my works, the concept fits my works, and I'm not really seeing what kind of space is that. Because I took part in an exhibition in, let's say, a very important space, but I took part in an exhibition as well, which doesn't have any important impact in my career, but I like the concept and ideas of curators or of exhibitions in general. I am, I mean, somehow, even that now I somehow collaborate with two galleries. One of them I cannot really consider as a commercial gallery, because it's a space that mostly are focused on working in a program which are not really necessarily commercial, but they do sometimes, let's say, commercial stuff like fairs and stuff like this. And lately I'm represented by another gallery which is like more commercial, but always when we are talking for doing exhibition or stuff like this, I'm trying not to do something which is only sellable. So I believe even in commercial galleries you can do something which is not really sellable, but it's as well concept based. So I think kind of I am, yeah. Look, I mean, I don't have anything against them actually, because I think it's positive for both, for galleries and for artists. And if the galleries doesn't exist, I think for artists it's much more difficult. And if the artist doesn't exist, or if the artists are against that, the galleries wouldn't exist. So I think I'm not a fan of these galleries that they're just trying to ask artists and just produce this to sell. But of course I'm not against commercial galleries if they have kind of a program, and if they have somehow both doing good shows in the way, doing something which is very important for the gallery as well, for the environment where they work, but as well they manage somehow to support and produce the works of artists. Look, I think now as an artist, or one artist, I'm not really talking only for myself. I think it's very important to have a theoretical background as well. And always I try to, especially lately when I'm doing something, to make research and read and contact with people who are like, kind of have a background in theory of art, because I think now not only my attitude to art, but in general attitude of art people, I think it changed. So I think it's very important to have that as well. Since most of my works dealing with that, I think for me it's have a very fundamental meaning, all these political and economical issues, because I come from a country or from the region which always, even if you want to deal with politics, politics deals with you in everyday life. So I mean, economically as well, in the economy as well, because I mean, even if you want to avoid that, I'm not an artist from Paris. I'm an artist from Kosovo, and always I was like somehow facing all this, let's say, political and economical problems. So for me, I think even that all these political and economical problems, it makes life of a society where I live much more difficult. In another way, somehow, I'm not going to say help me, but it gives me always a lot of themes, a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas to work in it. So for me, I have a very fundamental meaning actually. Look, before or in the past, when somehow me and my friends were somehow screaming that we were like living in a place where kind of a lack of country, lack of state, and always trying to approach somewhere where it's like to have a state. If you don't have something, you always want to have something. But I mean, I believe it's important to have a supportive state as well in a way. So state, if you don't have something, it's always you're fighting to have something. So I was born in a country which most of my people or my environment were not really thinking that they belong to that country with their will, but by accidentally. And after, since I started doing art, basically until a few years ago, we were like saying always that we don't belong to any country because we are under United Nations protectorate. So when you have something and after you see that having a state is not everything, because there were a lot of other problems you didn't even thought in advance. So being an artist from a state, or from one state, or being an artist that from a certain region, it somehow shows as well your point of view as an artist. Look, I was born in a country that doesn't exist anymore, and the state doesn't exist anymore. I was born in that country that in the fact that no one from my people, no one from my family really wanted to pay tax in that state, because they thought that the state was not really their own state, or the state that they were, I was born or they lived. In the way it wasn't really friendly with the society. They were, I mean, especially for in my case in Kosovo society. So I mean, in that case, if you would manage to avoid everything what is good for a state, most of my people would do that. I mean, I was very young. I mean, I didn't have any opinion in that time. Now, I mean, I pay tax in my country, which not always I'm happy with that. And I belong to that country, which I'm not always I'm happy with that. And if I would have any possibility to change, I would do that. Yeah, in the way that for me it's always. I believe in general. I think you should be happy and should pay taxi in a place where you feel happy, not necessarily where you really born or belong in papers, because nobody asked me to born there. So in the way, I think if somebody was born in Balkan, in Kosovo, or in Africa, and if they move in Berlin, I think they feel good here. I think they should just belong here. And with this border, for me, especially as an artist, it shouldn't exist. So if you whatever you feel happy, I think you belong there. And NSK or artist group, and NSK as an idea, as a concept. I was an artist of NSK. For me, one of the first artists to know was a conceptual artist from our region. I was born in Kosovo, and NSK comes from Slovenia. So basically, when they start working, and when I was born, we belong to the same country. In the way, and for me, they were kind of pioneers of contemporary art. Not only in visual art, but as well in music and theater stuff like this. So I think they were the first to know as an artist group, as an artist from Kosovo, and knowing them as an artist, which one day we were part of the same country. I like the idea because, as I said, somehow me and my friends and artists from Kosovo and friends from Kosovo, somehow we were like fighting to have a state. And in another way, I really like the idea of an NSK state to have kind of virtual state, which not really necessarily means that you have a territory, but in the way you have papers, and for me to have a, let's say, art state as an NSK, I thought it's very nice project, and one way, another way, I really like the works of artists that they created or they founded the state. So I decided to apply and be part of this let's say a concept, because I believe even to make a concept like a state, you should have a kind of a concept. I like the idea, so I applied, and I'm happy to be one of 50,000 people around the world. I do follow quite a lot of activities on NSK, and I was trying to work a bit with them, especially with part of NSK, with Irving groups. And I think they're really active, and I really like their works, and I really like their approach, and what I like the most, which is not really philosophy of many other groups of artists probably, especially I'm talking mostly for visual art part, because I follow them more since I am part of visual art. They function perfectly as a group, and I think they fit a gap of each other perfectly. And what is the best, I really like them as a friends as well. So, and I like their works and their exhibitions. And doesn't matter if they are represented only as an Irving group or an NSK in general. And I saw already many shows of them, and I know most of their works, and I'm really familiar with most of their ideas. So basically, I try to visit them quite often when I have a time, and even as I said that, I even try to collaborate with them in one project. And if I wouldn't respect what they do, probably I wouldn't do that. But because I respect them a lot. So a few years ago, we somehow managed to collaborate in a small project, which in that time I called it a Pioneer of Contemporary Art, or PCA, which was kind of a short cut of or rather reference of the project that I did with them. When I started to be part of the art scene, first in Balkan and after a bit further, always I was talking with friends is that really things that we should do, because probably because we were young and probably because always was this problem of moving and visiting other countries, visiting exhibitions, visiting like biennales, especially Venice Biennale, which are mostly like represented in let's say in the State Pavilion. In that time, I mean, this Balkan exhibition for me and for most of my friends, artists in my generation, they were somehow the first door to open and be part of, let's say, so-called art scene. And after a while, somehow I started really thinking about that. And I believe if there is a concept behind of a state pavilion or exhibition that are presented by a state, I have nothing against them actually. But if there is only because you have from there and you have to be part of that, I think that's for me a problem. And even in a Balkan exhibitions, I mean, we know, I mean, there were quite a couple of good or big exhibition of Balkan artists, and in some of them which I believe are quite good initiatives, like but in some of them I have some problems because they are focused only because they are artists from that region. So I believe, I mean, if there is no concept and if you go there and make research, you don't find any artist from it fits to the concept, why they should include them only because they're part of that. So if there is a concept behind of every or idea of every exhibition, I don't mind like being represented by a state or by the region or by a city or by the neighborhood or stuff like this. Actually, I would be happy and I would be my pleasure to contribute in this let's say manifestation, if there is a, as I said, idea, concept behind that. And I think because it probably it makes you even more think how you should be represented, because you are under kind of one umbrella which everybody comes and see you because you're part of that state. But if you make them think, even artists from very far from a region or from around a region, and comes and they find themselves in the way and in that idea, that concept, I think it makes things, I think, from my opinion, a bit more difficult. But it makes you think, work hard and work more deep to what you should show, what you should do. I think I would be quite happy to do that. As I said, I mean, I know quite well them from last 20 years, what they do, and I know the idea how this project was created. And I think as one of the artists who, when I start working, it wasn't really represented by any state. I think it's a very good. It would be really great as an artist to start a career without having any state in supporting in the back, and to take part in an exhibition or pavilion of the state that is especially exists only virtually, and it's, I think, would be very conceptually and politically, I think would be for me really good.